Welcome to another edition of Politics Done Right. We're coming live from Netroots Nation 2022. We are honored today to have Conrad Shaw once again. The last time I saw you was in
19?
2019 or
Philadelphia.
2018. 2019 in Philadelphia. And let me tell you, you spoke to us about basic income. First of all, before we get started, reintroduce yourself and the company that or the organization that you're with.
Yeah, my name is Conrad Shaw. I've been a universal basic income activist for six years now. I'm here with two projects. One is a docu-series called Bootstraps that has been exploring the idea of basic income for the last little while. And I'm also working with a startup company called Commingle that's trying to create the first online basic income community.
Right. Now, you just kind of tickle my interest. How do you have a basic income community online? What is that all about?
Yeah, so I came into this work thinking, okay, the end goal is you have to get the government to do a basic income. For it to be a real basic income, they have to do it in such a way that everyone gets it and we all pay taxes, whatever, it's worked out.
Right.
And just in the last couple of years, I sort of realized, tech platforms have a lot of power and they have very big communities and they're essentially their own little nations, right?
Yeah.
Their power rivals nation states. Like we don't even know what to do with them.
Right.
So what if we build something that's a people-powered thing that has its own effective sort of taxation structure, and the whole purpose of this little government, this little nation, is to provide basic income to all its members. So it's essentially it's like a mutual aid service, a place where people come and they can pool money along a basic income model.
Right.
So the nuts and bolts are everybody who joins commits to contributing 7% of their income into a pot each week, and then the money goes into the pot, gets divvied up exactly equally and given back out to everybody. So what that means is if you have $100 in income one week, then you contribute $7, so 7%. And if the payout of the eventual pot is $50, you just came out $43 ahead. That same week, if someone made $1,000 and contributes 70, they put in 70, got back out 50, so they end up putting in 20, right? So it becomes a redistributive mechanism for people to pool money, so that it's basically a solidarity effort in which no one in the group ever sees a week where they have no income.
Right.
It's like give money when you got it. Get money when you need
That's going to be a very good experiment, because that also that depends on folks to. It's almost like insurance, right?
Yeah, and it's not insurance for the like the big disasters and things.
Right.
It's sort of because you get it no matter what every week. It's insurance for the day to day, whatever pops up in your life. Have a little bit of money with which to deal with it.
Now, how do you monitor that the person is going to give their 7%? Because it depends on a certain degree of compliance.
Yeah, right. So that's part of building this thing to work effectively is just the suite of financial technology tools. Make sure people are connecting all their relevant bank accounts. You don't want someone connecting their like fake bank account and then making money elsewhere and not contributing and taking advantage of the system. Right. So we have to build in the security measures to make sure that people are actually reporting their income, or that we're able to track the income that they're making and categorize it correctly, and that's the basic idea. Is it's tracked directly on a real-time weekly basis through financial tools.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's always gonna. I mean, and I don't think that this should stop the development. I mean, but even in our current tax system, that's an issue, right? So I mean, that's just an issue,
right? So there's a question of to what degree is it acceptable if small levels, edge cases of misreporting go on? Like when someone makes money under the table, it's not generally enough to bankrupt the country. Right. So we have to decide at what level is this happening, at what level do we need to address it. Right. And that's something we'll learn in practice. But
and you have to build
the bulk of people's income, I think this will work. It'll hold together.
Well, I mean, that's an interesting concept. I would love to. I guess we'll speak again next year at the next conference when you tell me how successful that new thing is. But I like the concept of we are not going to wait for those paid, in what do we call it, corrupt politicians to do
or
this,
incompetent, or
incompetent,
or disempowered, or whatever it is.
We're not going to wait for that. We are going to actually try to build a model, and who knows, maybe they'll decide, oh, I guess this stuff is going to work, and then they stick with it. Let's go back to 2 years ago where you had this basic income. You told me that you were near the time where you were going to be able to evaluate the success of what people did with the money, etc. How did that work out?
It was pretty great, actually. So for those who don't know, I've been working on a docu-series called Bootstraps, and the premise of it was not to talk or philosophize or speculate about basic income, but to show it for real in practice. So we worked with Netroots Foundation, actually. We found 20 different people around the country, all different walks of life, different family types and households, and
Right.
and we raised money to run a basic income experiment with them.
Right.
So they each received $1,000 a month per adult and $333 a month per kid
child, yeah.
for 2.5 years. We ran the entire experiment and saw what they did with the money, and we filmed it all. And I mean, it was great. It was we were sort of gearing up for, maybe some people won't use it as well. Maybe it'll be a slow burn while people get comfortable, and then things will happen. I'm sort of surprised by how quickly just the knowledge of that income, not just the money coming in, but the knowledge that it'll keep coming in,
Right.
and the trust, it unleashed people. The degree to which people started acting on the plans and dreams that they'd had for years and years and years, it was just immediate. It was pretty amazing.
It blows the theory that people just want to get free money. Most people don't want just free money. Most people want to feel relevant. Most people want to feel
People want to matter.
They want to matter. And this theory that a lot of those in the upper structure believes that, oh, people just want to suck on the nipple or something
we're
like that.
resource accumulating robots. Yeah, that's bullshit.
Right. It is complete bullshit.
Yeah.
Completely. So, I'm glad that you guys did the experiment. I'm glad that the experiment proved the point that you thought in the first. Actually, it proved the point better than you expected it to
And we
prove.
were also actually not trying to make it prove the point.
Right.
We were trying to kick the tires, right? We were trying to do it as an experiment.
Right.
So we set it up in such a way that, we embraced scary stories, people with addiction histories or criminal
So you
records.
actually looked out for folks like that as well.
Oh yeah, we did. We wanted to actually take people's very valid concerns. How do you pay for it? And,
Right.
And what if people waste the money and say, oh, you know what? Let's see. Let's just try it and see. We're not trying to trick people into UBI. If people watch our series and what comes out of it, our attitude has always been
Right.
and they come out of it with a positive feeling about basic income, it will be because basic income sold itself.
Right.
Not
right.
because we sold it. We had no interest in selling anything. We wanted, this is a journalistic and scientific effort.
Now, how does that tie in? Now, what you've learned, how does that tie into this new project that you're working on with the website?
So, my role, my wife is a documentarian, Dea Schlossberg, and she's the director. We came on to the documentary as co-creators, but my role was more to design the UBI trial, do the research, help her get to the shoots. And so I was, in terms of production, I was more of a gopher and a helper and a producer.
Right.
And I'm the UBI expert. I'm the one who's a more outward advocate for UBI in real life. So I helped design the thing to best represent a true, honest UBI as much as you can with the pilot. And then she's the one who's in charge of telling the story, well and with nuance. Once the UBI pilot was done and the filming was all done, there's less for me to do.
Right.
So I stepped away, and she's doing post-production and editing and stuff. And I had all this time and all this knowledge and some work I had done, analyzing the economics of UBI. So the original founder of Commingle reached out to me, and they had sort of a UBI-ish idea, and I quickly said, you know what, I think we should make this pretty radical, and there's an opportunity here. I want to join the team. So I joined that team full-time 2 years ago.
And how is it going? Is all the website calculations done yet? All the parts?
We've designed the thing in principle. I have a working Excel spreadsheet version of the whole thing.
Right.
And we've raised about 40% of the budget we need to do the building and development. So
Is it possible for me to ask you about what kind of monies we're talking about?
So our budget is around 600,000 to get it to launch, is what we think, and we've raised 200 of that, and we've used it, and we've built it into a place where we've got 15 beta testers,
Right.
actually like having their bank accounts really tracked, and so working out the kinks because. We have a plan of like 5 stages of beta testing to go through to make sure, okay, are we doing the calculations correctly? Okay, are we categorizing income correctly? Okay, are we open to fraud? Okay, are we now transacting the money reliably?
Right.
Like there's a lot of steps to make sure
that is a complicated.
This is people's money. You got to be
That's
trustworthy.
people's money. You have to have trust, and you also have to make sure that it doesn't bankrupt itself. It has to pay the people who are actually implementing it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, it's actually the thing that's really exciting to me is it has a revenue stream. So we set it up like a utility. We're not taking shareholders or VC money. We're taking grants, and we're taking like limited investments where people get a payout and then they're done. But because there's a revenue set up like a utility, we'll get 1% of the money that goes through, and at a certain point that becomes enough to cover our overhead and our expenses. And we're going to build it into the framework that what we're making is more along the lines of a blended nonprofit cooperative where once we're making more money than we need, we're redirecting, and we have to redirect all that money back towards public benefit.
I was going to ask that question because 1% of a little is a little, but 1% of everything, it may be too much.
Exactly. So at first I was thinking, like as we get bigger and bigger, we can start dropping down the 1%.
Right.
But the 1% doesn't really feel like anything to the user on an individual basis.
Right.
So what does that actually mean where if we're bringing in about 50 cents per user per week, like at 25,000 users, then we can cover our operations.
Right.
At a million users, we're bringing in $500,000 a week. What if we could do something better to actually help the users in the membership, like offer more tools and more services? So this is where it becomes really disruptive, is we can start building out the tools the members want. Like how do you, like what if we make something where the users can redirect a portion of their weekly payout into local funds, and then vote on how it gets used, and then all of a sudden start doing things with the commingled members in their community more than their local governments are doing.
I like that. That's empowered people.
Yeah. Start connecting people, empowering people in any way we can. And the beauty of having it run like a utility is we can and I will be promising that we don't monetize in any other ways.
Right.
So we will never sell ads. We will never sell personal data.
Right.
We won't do any of that, the Facebook, whatever, Twitter shit where it's like their existence is predicated upon profit.
Right.
If we divorce ourselves from that, we can make our existence and our mission predicated on maximum empowerment of the members, the owners.
I love where we're going, but let me ask you this before we close here. What's your background? I always like to ask the background of somebody who's doing this kind of work.
Like educational and
educational, socially. How did you grow up? What made you feel that you wanted to work with people that that needed help?
I grew up like middle class, privileged suburb kid, from Colorado. My background in education was. I was a mechanical engineer, is what I got a degree in.
Yeah.
I was never super passionate about it. By the time it was a smart thing and I was good at it, and I really appreciate that way of thinking, systems thinking and design thinking.
I'm a mechanical engineer.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I have a joke to tell you later.
Okay.
So my senior year in college, I'd taken an acting class, and I was like, oh, wow, I actually need to try this. So I did like a year in engineering or like at Lockheed, and then I abandoned it, came to New York, and commenced to be super poor for the next 12 years.
Oh, wow.
Trying to be an actor, screenwriter.
That's interesting.
And then I met my wife, and she was coming off a step up in her career as a documentarian, and she asked me, I was still trying to make my own stuff happen, and mostly bartending and stuff. She asked me to produce her next documentary, and she was still figuring out what it was going to be, and that became Bootstraps. So I got launched into the UBI activism world. She is already doing a lot of environmental and stuff. And now I'm getting to make films.
It's amazing how engineering teaches you logical thinking that can promote these things, because even UBI, right, does the logics behind how you implement all of this, the methodology that we get within the engineering structures.
That's what struck me first, more than anything, more than the morality, the philosophy. I'm into all that.
Right.
But the very first thing that reached out to me was reading an article right when she was looking at her.
Right.
She was getting ready to do her documentary and just being blown away by this idea that that we can just do this, that we have enough money to just do this. And I guess the underlying assumption we all have, like I was in New York City, walking past homeless people like 50 times a day on my way to work or whatever. It's like, this problem must just be too big for us to handle, or else, like thinking I would love if there was some efficient program that would take my tax dollars and effectively help all of these people get their
100%.
subsistence.
Yes.
Like I can't do it with my single dollars. I'm trying to make sure I can pay my rent. And how much is a dollar going to do one at a time for someone? So this was like a slap in the face. Like, actually, we have the money to just do this. And to me, it was like, well, maybe I need to look at the math and do the napkin math. And I very quickly, I was like, okay, we have enough money to theoretically do this five times over without the rich not being rich. You know, they still have a wide range in incomes and everything. And then the second thing that really appealed to me was I started posting a little bit like on Facebook. You always have that one friend who's on the exact opposite end of the political spectrum who disagrees with you on exactly everything.
And suddenly agreed.
Mike comes along. His name's Mike, and it's like it doesn't matter what I say. It's like he has the exact opposite belief. After like and he comes along, and I'm gearing up for like the painful argument. And after like 2 comments, he's like, "Yeah, I can see giving money to people. That just makes sense." Like this is the first really nonpartisan idea that it's just mathematically design-wise smart, and you can pitch it to, I don't care if it's a libertarian or a progressive or a neoliberal or an atheist or an evangelical Christian. Doesn't matter. There is a pitch to, because all it is power to the people.
Absolutely.
That's all it is.
You are so absolutely right. There's a reason why I wanted to talk to you back then. There's a reason why I'm enjoying talking to you now. You got to get your damn message promoted all the time. Thank you, my brother, Conrad. Do you have any closer you want to say?
I just want to plug, if people want to go get on the mailing list to see when we launch. It's not a spamming list.
Plug it.
Comingle.us, comingle.us, and we'll let you know when we launch. And then if you want to know when the series is coming out, bootstrapstv.com.
Conrad, thank you so kindly for having been on Politics and Right.
Thank you so much.
All right. We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number 1, subscribe to our channel. And number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.